On today's episode of Titus and Tate, the ACC, I think, is officially dead. I think we just witnessed the entire ACC. Your beloved North Carolina Tar Heels lost by...
Dead.
They're just dead.
All right.
They've been dead. Miami.
I told you 3 strikes and I was out.
Yeah.
This is the 4th strike, and I don't know what's going on now.
The one glimmer of hope this conference had was the Duke Blue Devils. And
Yes, the Coach K farewell tour.
Yeah.
Off the rails.
We just witnessed them lose to Florida State. We're going to talk about that, obviously, coming up. We also want to talk about, Tate, the AP pollsters zigged. They wanted to zig. The Auburn Tigers have never been ranked number 1 in program history.
I mean, some would argue they zagged.
That's what I was going to say. The pollsters zigged, but somehow the poll zagged.
Okay.
That make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make
the
any sense.
The pollsters voted Auburn number 1.
Yes.
I think Auburn got 11 more first-place votes than Gonzaga did.
That's what the numbers say.
And yet, when the poll came out, Gonzaga was number 1. Auburn was
because
number 2.
Because they had more number 2 votes.
Yes, because Auburn...
Make it make sense.
This was one of those weeks that we learned that the AP poll is not as simple as we thought it was, and we might talk about that a little bit. Not so much. I don't think the poll on in mid-January matters that much, but it's more of a discussion as to who do you think's the best team, Tate?
Yeah.
How much would this? I guess it would have mattered to
and
Auburn.
It felt like it was a foregone conclusion as to who was going to be number 1. So the fact that it's not who like you said, the pollsters and the general public views as the best team. Right, number 1 team. We got to talk about that.
Also, a lot of Big 12 action tonight. Baylor back on track at West Virginia. Kansas beats Oklahoma.
Started off a little rough though.
It did, yeah. Kansas ekes one out at Oklahoma. Christian Brown with the big shot. Texas Tech blew out Iowa State. And Texas lost. Texas sucks. Texas kind of sucks. So there's that. Also, Wisconsin got a big win. It was a loaded day of college basketball. That's to say nothing about the Purdue-Illinois game, Tate, on Monday. That was Monday. That was
a great MOK day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about all of that, but first.
Woody Durham.
All right. First of all, out of the gate, we are live on YouTube right now. Hello to everyone watching. Those of you listening on the podcast feed, we're
nothing's different.
Nothing's different. We're just going to do the show. But we record them with the videos, and and we figured like as we're getting closer to March, we might as well do these live because it makes it more fun. We're better when we're live because it's just like
we have no escape.
There's no escape.
Last year during March Madness, we were going live and we were saying to ourselves, we're in this beautiful studio on the Fox lot. We had this nice setup. Why not embrace it? Why not welcome the friends of the program into our world and watch the games with us?
So hello to everybody watching. Again, if you're listening and you want to, we're going to do this every Tuesday night. I think after the games end, there's always going to be awesome games Tuesday night. I think we were looking at the schedules and we were like, it's a loaded
loaded day.
Loaded day. Tuesdays are going to be loaded. We're going to go live. But if you're not into YouTube, if it's too late for you, if whatever else, it's fine. We're gonna put
YouTube.com.
We're gonna put the audio in the podcast feed nonetheless. So
it's the same thing. It's the same runaround. If you've just been listening to this podcast, nothing is different except for you might hear some things a little bit more off the cuff. You know what I mean? Because we're going live. If we had gone live, let's say 2 hours ago, Titus, there's no telling what I would have said on this microphone. So thank goodness.
To your point about us promising that nothing is different on this show, let's talk about Duke, which is a great tell that everything's going to be the exact same as it normally is because, boy, do we love talking about Duke, especially on a night like tonight when Duke loses in overtime at Florida State. What to you is the story? I guess Trevor Keels getting hurt is kind of going to be the big picture story. Certainly, I think looking forward.
I think that's the first thing that Coach K brings up. Yeah,
that's probably the big picture story. But I'm not even talking. I'm not talking about like Trevor Keels losing. Trevor Keels hurt Duke in this game because actually I think it sort of helped because they just went zone.
Yeah,
and kind of got back into it by playing zone. But certainly as you look at the rest of Duke's season, I mean it was an ankle, right? It looked like an ankle.
I think so. He came back to the bench, but he was in the street clothes. But you asked the big picture. The big picture of this whole conversation is that the AP poll has one ACC team.
Yeah.
And that one ACC team is the Duke Blue Devils. And they are supposed to be powered by the Coach K farewell tour, which was going to end in the same way that John Wooden walked away from the game in a national title. That was the narrative. That was the plan. And we love when a plan comes together. But unfortunately, right now, the plan is in disarray. And I don't know what the answer is for Coach K. I don't know what the answer is for the ACC. But in general, the conference, the sky is falling. You know what I mean?
Like I don't want to be a complete alarmist
No.
because like
I'm looking
like
at the sky and it's breaking, and I am looking up. They told me don't look up, but I'm looking up. And I see the snow globe cracking.
I definitely like to give you jabs about Carolina, about the ACC,
Yeah.
especially as it pertains to the Big Ten.
That's part of the show.
That's part of the show.
Yeah.
But we're at a point
anymore.
We're at a point now, Taylor, where I'm like, I don't know if I should be making these jokes anymore because I'm genuinely worried about the ACC. I mean, for God's sakes, have you seen the state of what's going on with Louisville with Chris Mack? Right now?
Trust me. Trust me. I'm aware.
Which like like Louisville is like way over there. That's like way over there.
Yes.
But it's still happening.
It's everywhere.
And then like the thing that's like in our face is Duke, which is like Duke is people are trying, Tate. They're trying to make Duke good this year. They're trying to
We are. I'm
yeah.
here. I'm trying to shoot them to the moon.
The bracketologies are coming out, and Duke is somehow a 1 seed on all of these bracketologies. They have no good wins left on the schedule. Like you look at their, I don't know how they're going to help their resume.
But they beat the number 1 team.
But they have beat Gonzaga. They have beat Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
They've now lost to Miami and Florida State and Ohio State. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Point is, when I watch Duke, and it wasn't just tonight. It's like in general. Obviously, they're good. Quote unquote, they're going to be a good basketball team. They're going to be a tough out in March State, but boy, it can be. If I was a Duke fan, I'd be frustrated as hell watching this team. How like their offense is like, especially tonight. It was just Paolo would catch, he would jab step, take a couple dribbles, throw it up against the glass, catches
a lot of
lobs. Dunk it.
I mean, this team is all lobs and step backs.
Yeah, it was. It's so
and in and out dribbles. A lot of in and out dribbles.
I don't know what. If we're resetting the expectations for Duke, I don't know because like I really do think it's a genuine concern that Duke is not going to play like an actual good team.
Yeah.
Like an actually like Final Four good team.
Miami looks like the best team in the ACC, and going into the ACC season, Miami was already written off. So I mean, that's where we are in the ACC, where Duke was the one. And now they are, we don't know.
They're still the one.
They're still the one. But you're still like, are they actually going to win the regular season? Because right now Miami has the fast track to win the regular season.
Right.
They blow out Carolina and they beat Duke. I mean, they look great so far. And their one loss is against Florida State. And that game is a 1-point loss. So Miami is the team that inspires hope. But nationally, Miami was already written off. So that's the other part of the ACC. You have no team to really sell to the general mass public other than Duke. And Duke is, like you said, I mean, we know that they have a lot of talented players, but really, is Jeremy Roach the guy? Is he really going to be this Duke point guard that we've seen in the lineage of a Jay Williams and stuff? And if they're going to have...
He's not. Spoiler alert, he's not.
He's not. And if they're going to have a guy who's going to become the Daniel Ewing or DeMarcus Nelson, whatever, that secondary guy like an A.J. Griffin, he has to be more involved in what they're going to do from, top to bottom. And that changes the philosophy of who they are, because who they are right now is primary option, Paolo. Sometimes we throw lobs to Mark Williams, but we basically, we're playing ISO basketball, and they're going to have to, Coach K is famous for the motion offense, right? Like, we're gonna have to see some changes to this offense.
When Duke is rolling, they make it look easy because they're so talented, but it's not like easy for them. Even offense, like they're great in transition. Obviously, they're great.
Look at their highlights. It's like Paolo Banchero driving into a double team, shooting up the ball, him missing, him getting his rebound, and then throwing down a thunderous dunk. Like
I know,
and it's a great play at the end of the day, but it's like improvised. Improvised.
Boy, a lot of ball stoppers on this team. There's not a lot of swinging it around and driving.
That's why you're right about Keels, though, because if you take Keels out, maybe there's one less of those as we swing it around the perimeter and everybody's got to get in their dribble and their step back. Maybe there's one less.
I don't know. I mean, and then even the zone was working, but like, was it like
it's a very uninspired.
It was an uninspiring zone. I don't like Duke is going to be. They're a stereotypical team of what like people that don't like really follow college basketball would say that Duke and Kentucky and say like a Memphis are year after year, which is like they're loaded on talent. I'm not going to say they're poorly coached because Coach K is the greatest coach of all time. This is his last season, and that would be ridiculous for me to say that. But it does feel like when they're good, when they're winning, it's just pure talent. And take like a game like Gonzaga. That's the highlight of Duke's season so far, right? They play Gonzaga on a neutral court. Gonzaga is the new number 1 in college basketball. They were the old number 1 in college basketball at the time that they played Duke. The way that Gonzaga plays is inviting to Duke's makeup. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it just took on the feel of an NBA game. And when that is the feel of the game, Duke can rise to that level because they have insane talent across the board. But then you get a game like Florida State where you have like they're mucking
No
it up
space.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're getting mucked,
You're getting mucked.
you
dude.
can't buck.
And I don't know. So like that's the concern with Duke is because a lot of like we'll get to this in a second too, talking big picture. Like every single team has flaws. That's become the narrative of this season is there's no great teams. Every team is beatable. So the fact that Duke has weaknesses is not necessarily the problem. Tate. The question becomes moving forward, how do you address these weaknesses? How do you get better? They don't have a point guard. I don't think they're going to get a point guard. I don't I don't know how they're really going to solve that.
Maybe Keels is the point guard.
Maybe, I guess. So that's what worries me about Duke is like some of their issues. I don't necessarily think they're going to iron them out. I think they're just it's going to have like a 2019 feel to it where it's like, we're just going to beat you because we're better than you across the, like our five are better than your five. It's like Pee Wee basketball where you line up against from the guy that you're guarding, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, me versus him, I can beat him. And then you look at your teammate, you're like, you can beat him. You can beat him. All right, we're going to win.
Inspires confidence.
Yeah. Like that's how Duke's going to win games.
But there's multiple times when you're watching a Duke game where you look out there and there's 2 elite talents and then 3 scrubs. You know what I mean? Like for lack of a better term. I mean, like that is the problem that they have too, where it's like it's not even. You know, it's a very top-heavy team.
Yeah.
And when a game becomes a college game, which like you talked about Gonzaga, you get to play a spaced-out game. You have space. You have operating space. It's nice. It's fun. But when you play an ACC game, you know, in Tallahassee, and there's a lot of length and there's not a lot of space, that's when it becomes a muck game.
The other fear I have is with the ACC so bad.
Where's the test?
There's going to be a lot of mucking.
Yeah.
It's like you get a team like Florida, like maybe Florida State of last year, the year before, like this run of great Florida State teams we've seen under Leonard Hamilton recently.
Yeah.
Maybe if they're like favored going into this game, I don't know what the line was. I assume Duke was favored by a few. But like if this was a Florida State team that we actually feel like could compete for a Final Four or whatever, maybe they played a little differently. Maybe they're like, we're better than Duke. We don't need to do it, you know? But like every single game that Duke's going to play in the ACC, the other team is going to be like, they're better than us, so we have to muck it up.
And not only are they better than us, they are our one chance to get the quality win to get us to the tournament.
Yes.
So it's like we have to give them our best chance. We have to give them our best swing. And if we don't, we've wasted our one opportunity to get to the tournament.
Right.
And Duke has to play that game every single night.
This is so fascinating. What a fascinating dynamic.
And what is Coach K really like? What does Coach K do if it does, like we've joked about
falls apart?
No, if it goes completely sideways, like if they don't win the ACC regular season, they're going to win the ACC tournament. We know that. So let's go ahead and shoot that in. But like, let's say they're a 3 seed or a 2 seed and they go into the tournament and they don't have this path that's paved for them.
Yeah.
That will be fascinating because if that happens, Coach K's coming back. That's a fact. And you heard it here first. When it all gets reported later in the summer that Coach K's thinking about coming back, you know, he wants one more. Just know that you heard it here first. I see it on his face.
Yeah.
He's like, this isn't who I thought we are not who we thought we were.
He's definitely not dying inside as much as like I thought he might if the season's sort of unraveled.
If it really was the last
year. If it really is last year. Yeah. Like he would be slowly dying a little more.
He would have snapped.
But the counter to that is Keels gets hurt.
He has an excuse. You're right.
So K goes out to console Keels, and you know one thing I didn't see while Keels was on the ground and K was consoling him was the Duke managers running out there with the towels, hide the cameras from being able to see Trevor Keels and Coach K. And that to me feels like a farewell tour play. That K was like, stay on the bench, let the cameras get me putting my hand on Keels' chest. Because I'm a good guy, and I'm going to heal this man with my powers, with my witchcraft.
I could see, like, on 60 Minutes where they show Coach K, like, how much he's grown as a coach. You know, once known as one of the hardest coaches to play for, and now he's the player's coach. You know, it's like Coach K patting him.
He's like Bob Huggins with Deshaun Butler. like trying to make it.
That was still the craziest moment in college basketball history.
That's the all-time consoling. Yeah,
that's all-time. I love my players.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Maybe a little too much. In retrospect.
Like, how much is too much?
When Bob Huggins at the Final Four stood up and started zipping his pants down, I was like, Bob, this is crossed the line. Come on, this is too much. Let's talk about Carolina because that is the other side of the coin. The other side of the coin. That's the other side of the ACC discussion we have to have.
Woo.
Is Hubert Davis on the hot seat?
That's what the message boards would tell you. I think,
What the hell happened? I didn't watch
Yeah.
this game. I was watching Kansas, Oklahoma. I didn't think I needed to watch. Like I knew Carolina. No disrespect to Miami, by the way. I know Miami's a good team. It just like Kansas, Oklahoma was a better game. So I was watching that. I was like in here at Fox.
No,
I
you-
only had the one TV going, and like I was like, you don't need to worry about throwing the Carolina game on. I'm sure I'll check the end if it's close. I'll turn. Boy,
Boy,
it was
it
never
not
close. What the hell happened?
Oh man. I mean, I
do
told
we
you
start?
the third time that this team just completely just unraveled, at the Notre Dame, right? That was my third strike. I was like, Tennessee, you fooled me once. Kentucky, you fooled me twice. Notre Dame, you fooled me 3 times. And at that point, it's F the peace signs. You know what I mean? Like
Strike 4.
I struck out. I'm sitting on the bench. I am just watching from the sidelines. And there's 2 moments in my life that I remember where I was because I was so shocked. And the first one was when North Carolina played at Duke in 2010. You remember this game? Duke wins by 32.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the first time that I the innocence of my life got broken. I was like, that's possible. Like you could lose by 30 points to Duke. What? And then when Davidas Dulkes in 2012, and he did it twice. It wasn't just the game that they won by 30. He did it in the ACC championship game. You remember Florida State beat Harrison Barnes, Kennedy. That's when I was in college. It was my freshman year. So Dulkes, the fact that Dulkes is bringing ball, it's back in my life again. You know what I mean? Like this game conjured up.
Was this the game that Roy pulled the real players through the
This is
walk-ons?
2012.
And then Florida State rushed the court and all the walk-ons were getting trampled.
Because that was the year, Tyler Zeller's ACC Player of the Year, John Henson, Harrison Barnes, Kendall Martin. I mean, the team, we're destined to win a title, but we were very NBA. We acted very NBA. And then Florida State embarrassed them. Senior Davidas Dulkes. Literally, he made 19 threes against North Carolina in 2 games. Think about that. This guy played 2 games against North Carolina that season, made 19 threes. And the fact that game is getting brought up today goes to show you that today was not a good day. Like even this Duke loss, you would think, like usually if Duke loses, that would kind of make my day a little bit better. It doesn't help at all.
Really?
It doesn't help at all. That's how far gone I am because I've already struck out. I've already.
So hold on.
I was already
hang
out.
on.
I was already out.
If Duke loses in the first round of the NCAA tournament,
I'm back.
I was gonna say, dude,
I'm back.
Come on.
I'm back.
I thought by striking out on North Carolina, you have now entered the phase of the season where you're like, nothing that Carolina does can bring me joy.
Yeah.
It can only be we're full on hater now. We're just like, as long as Duke loses, that's still a win in my book. You're not there yet?
I'm just telling you that the hate, it doesn't work when there's no good. You know what I mean? Like you can't have one without the other. Like I need the juice on the Carolina side to have this hatred for Duke. Otherwise, it's like, what am I even doing?
That's
like,
true.
What am I even arguing?
Because that is lame at that point. Like,
what am I even here for? Like, what am I, a State fan?
That's very State fan.
Like, what? I'm not even a part of the conversation.
That's
so
a State fan.
What am I even here for? And I will never stoop that low in my life. I can never be that, off the beaten path. And if I ever am, please stop me then. But North Carolina,
at the same time,
the worst part
Duke
about
loses,
it
would be
great. It'd be great.
Yeah,
But the worst part about all of this, you asked about Hubert Davis. That's how you started this. Hubert Davis. What can you say? like what? This has happened 4 times. Like 3 embarrassing, you can't even come back from moments. Like John Calipari embarrassed you. Jim Larinaga just embarrassed you. Rick Barnes embarrassed you.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Bray semi-embarrassed you.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I love Hubert Davis. He's the right guy for the job. But at the same time, we can't go to the press conference after this game and say, I don't know. Somebody's got to know something. I don't know who knows.
What was the tone? Did you watch the press conference?
Yeah, the tone was, we're going to try to find a leader. And Titus, I hate to bring this up, but at the start of the season, Hubert Davis was asked, who's the leader of this team? He said, we have all leaders. So which means that we have no leaders. It's the quarterback conundrum. If we have 3 quarterbacks, we don't have 1 quarterback. So the fact that he said that, now he's saying this, and then to say I don't know, you have to know something. And then during this game, I had people within that think they're close to the program text me being like, so and so hates so and so. I'm like, what is this? The OC? Like, get over it. Get over it. Like, I don't care if you hate somebody. Like, get over it. It's about the team. Like, you're embarrassing.
That's
yourself.
tough though. It is tough. If women are getting in between guys, that's tough. That's tough to overcome.
It's not women. It's just like jealousy over like he gets 10 shots
it's that.
and I need my 10 shots, and he's a part of the core and I'm not a part of the core, and I'm supposed to be starting and What are we doing?
Yeah.
I feel like Chris Vernon right now because I'm just like I'm full of emotion and I don't know where to put it, but all I know is that North Carolina basketball, we're gonna
shout out to Verno, by the way.
We're gonna hit the panic button.
We dug up that clip. Jim found the clip of when Verno was on and he kept yelling YouTube.com.
That was the best. That was one of the best interviews of the year.
I threw out the hypothetical. What if we look up in January, Verno, and Memphis is in like I said this. What if they're in quote unquote like 4th place in the American? And Verno just lost his mind. He's like, 4th place. He started laughing and Memphis is in 6th place in the American. So that was pretty funny. So shout out Verno.
Shout out to Verno, and I understand that feeling because like at the start of the year when we were talking about North Carolina, I bought it. I bought the hype. Like they got me again.
There's reason. I'll defend you in this regard. Like North Carolina's roster has
a lot of stars.
There's like reason to
recruiting
talk
stars.
I don't think you talking yourself into North Carolina was misplaced coming into the season. I think you had every right to believe this would not be a disaster. They're not in the tournament, right?
Yeah, they're in the tournament.
They're in the tournament.
Yeah, they're in the tournament.
Are we sure?
They're a 10 seed, 9 seed, 10 seed.
Are you talking yourself into the UCLA?
They're in the tournament. Like they're in the tournament.
Mouse.
Just keep.
They're in the tournament. It's just like
How many times do you think Tate's gonna say it before he believes it?
they're in the tournament.
The NIT?
But you just got to think about this. Like, this was supposed to be his Bill Guthridge team, right? Like the 1997-1998 North Carolina Tar Heels. Which
where's Vince Carter?
I know,
Where is he?
but
Where's
that's the problem with this team because it's like the messaging is wrong. We got all these stars and everybody. Man, how great is this guy? How great is this guy? They suck. You know what I mean? Like I hate to tell you, like I don't care if you were a 4-star, 5-star. Like you just got beat by 30. Like. I mean that's the crazy part about it, and I don't know what to say, Titus.
So if let's say hypothetically, I don't know, let's pick a name, Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
Who's Bubba is
Bubba Cunningham
is
the AD.
North Carolina's AD.
Yeah.
Brad Stevens calls Bubba Cunningham on April 17th after Carolina has missed the NCAA tournament or lost in the first round for the second consecutive year in the NCAA tournament.
Oof.
And Brad says, I want to get back into coaching, but I only want one job, and it's North Carolina. I could not. I've already burned the bridge with Indiana and everyone in Indiana. Kansas is set with Bill Self. Duke is set with John Shire. UCLA is set with Mick Cronin, obviously.
Yeah, it's so set.
The only situation I see breaking in back into college at a blue blood situation is North Carolina. What if you're Bubba Cunningham? What do you do?
Bubba says yes, for sure. And I think that it's because Bubba had no say the first time around. And what I really care about, and it's all I ever care about, it's just accountability. So like all I want on the other side of these conversations is like Hubert should be calling Roy Williams after this game and like be like, what is the advice? Like what do I do with this? Because this was Roy's call at the end of the day. Like this is his succession plan.
Yeah,
like he is invested in the succession plan, and if the succession plan is too much for all the parties involved, we can get ahead of it and say that. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest about it. Let's be honest about the messaging of it, because
you're trying to get an annulment.
No,
you're not trying to divorce.
We can't keep getting beat by 30 points. Like I don't know who to blame. I don't want to blame anybody. I don't want anyone to get fired. I don't want anyone to transfer. I want everyone to be great. But guess what?
I just don't want to lose by 30.
I don't want to lose by 30. I don't know how. That's the first thing. If I walked in the room, that's all I would say to everybody. It's like, how do we stop that? Like that. I mean, I want to lose by at least like 15. Like I don't want to get blown out. Start there.
All right. Same hypothetical. Remove Brad Stevens.
Brad Stevens is the guy.
Remove Brad Stevens.
He's the call.
Put in Rick Pitino. Exact same hypothetical.
Give me Rick Pitino. I mean, I would take. It's one of those things where it's like
we should play that game. How many coaches are you taking to replace Hubert right now?
Well,
John Miller.
It's unfair. It's unfair to Hubert because it's like all these guys have head coaching experience. All these guys have all these years on him, and his bench Jeff Lebo is the number one guy for him to talk to, or Pat Sullivan. And I love Pat Sullivan. Pat Sullivan's a guy he should be talking to more, in my opinion. But instead, he's talking to Brad Frederick, and that's just what we're doing right now.
Here's the problem too with Hubert. This being his first year, I think discussing like the difference between Roy and Hubert. I mean, obviously Roy
is Roy,
but
3-time national champion.
But in how they handle it, because I think you're conditioned to like Hubert should be going to these press conferences and taking it and saying this was my fault. I didn't have the team ready. But he can't do this because he's trying to like convince people that he's the man for the job. So if he came in every time you guys lose by 30, he's like, "This is on me. This is on me." You have no positives to point to if you're Hubert Davis,
and he's
you're taking all the negatives. Whereas Roy,
when
you've won all these national titles and you've won all these trophies, you can then go into the press conference and say, "This is on me," because no one in their right mind is saying, "Let's fire Roy."
Yeah.
But now people are saying, "Let's fire Hubert."
What does every coach say to you though? Like when you talk to a coach and you ask them, like, what is something that you can't coach or you can't teach? They all say effort and energy.
Yeah.
This team is literally the definition of that. That's why I can't even get mad at Hubert, because it's like you can't coach effort and energy. It is what it is, you know? It's like there's no fix for this. This is like it's almost like a personal onus that you have to take upon yourself to say, I do not want to get beat by 30 points.
Yeah.
I will not let that happen.
Yes.
And that will trickle down to the rest of the team. But you know what that is? That's leadership. And I heard at the beginning of the year that everybody in the locker room is a leader. So I would like for them to live up to that. Attitude reflects leadership, Captain.
Tate's coming apart at the seams.
Oh, you should have seen me watching this game. It was literally, my mouth was on the ground because it was so predictable and also so unbelievable at the same time.
Let's move on. Let's save you. That's enough.
Get me out of here.
ACC talk. Let's talk about the Big 12 a little bit. There were what was it? 4 games tonight, I think. Whatever. There's a lot of Big 12 basketball being played tonight.
So much.
And
best conference in basketball.
It is the best conference in basketball. Yeah. I have a take I think I'm ready to make public though about the Big 12. Would you like to hear it, or would you like me to save it for a different
I would love to hear it.
Please worried.
Get me out of the ACC.
I'm worried the Big 12 this year is going to be like the Big 10 last year, where it's so obviously the best league. And I'm not saying it's not.
No, I know
the Big 12 is definitely the best conference.
You're saying the PR of it, and then it goes to the tournament, and they don't have a team that
there's no one team,
no alpha team.
There's no because you're like, if you're talking like national title contenders, it's Kansas and Baylor, and Texas Tech
is a dark horse.
Is on the fringes.
They're a dark horse.
They're a dark horse. They're getting there. They just lost to Kansas State. That to me, I will, if I'm going to be optimistic and say that was a scheduling loss. Texas Tech played their 4th game in 8 days, I think, when they lost to Kansas State over the weekend.
Kansas State beat Texas, so I mean,
so okay, so we'll put Texas Tech on the fringe. They're certainly making it. They've already beat Kansas and Baylor, so I think Texas Tech fans are like, we have to be. We're already in the mix. Why are we not at the top of this list? Whatever. I still don't. I don't. When I watch Texas Tech, I don't say this is a national champion yet, Tate. Yet. Kansas and Baylor are interesting because I do think they're both good enough to win a national championship. Obviously,
Kansas is my pick to win the title,
but neither one of these teams, like Baylor, I'm ready to definitively say Baylor is not better than last year's team.
No,
I floated the idea of maybe someday potentially having a discussion.
That was our first King of the Mountain, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Last week
I think the King of the Mountain has a chance to be cursed.
The all-time curse.
Like, no, me and you were just picking people, and they just hit decline.
I said Scott Drew has. I believe what I said was college basketball by the balls, and then they lost 2 in a row. They almost lost 3 in a row ish. It was
a tough game at West.
Tough game at West Virginia. L.J. Cryer, Matthew Meyer had big games. Which Cryer. we can talk about a little bit, but Kansas and Baylor both. Baylor is not as good, I don't think, as they were last year. I think that's pretty safe to say. And this Kansas team to me does not jump out as like a team that I'm going to remember in 20 years when I think back on the Bill Self era at Kansas. Which gives me pause because only one Bill Self era Kansas team has won a national championship. So I'm like, what if all those other 2020 is a half. We'll count that as a half.
I think
but if all these other teams didn't win national titles, how is this one going to win? But then I have to like trick my mind into saying they don't have to, like 2022 Kansas doesn't have to beat the 2010 Kansas team or the 2012 Kansas team.
Yeah.
It has to beat all the other teams, or it has to beat 6 teams that plays in the NCAA tournament, So I guess technically Kansas is a national title contender, but I don't love their team per se. Like I don't watch, you like them more than I do. I don't.
I just think that they have to figure out how to start Remy Martin. I mean, it's so obvious to me that he has to start. And I think as soon as that move is made, and I don't know what Bill Self is waiting on, I think it's a lot of like he thinks that Remy's better with the second unit, so he can just have the ball and run the second unit. But for that team
He's
to
been
go
hurt like the last couple games, right?
Yeah.
Like he came
but,
back. Yeah.
But they had DeJuan Harris is like starting over him, and it feels like, Christian Brown can slide to the 2 and Remy can be the 1. And then I think that I don't know. To me, that is the 5 that it will eventually be. Maybe it just happens in crunch time. Like he doesn't actually start, but in crunch time, that's the 5 that's out there.
Yeah.
Because then I'm more prone to really believe in this team. And McCormick,
he's regressed.
But
he's regressed.
If he can play at a serviceable level, which is like to mean he can match up with Kofi or match up with Oscar or whatever, then I think that's all they really need is him to be serviceable. He doesn't have to be a star. I like Wilson. I like Brown. I mean, Agbaji was my pick to win National Player of the Year. I think he still has like another step that he can take. But I see what you're saying. I mean,
but
and how many times have we believed in Kansas and they faltered in the tournament too? So
and the Bill Self move, the Bill Self style of play is to dump it down low to the big men, to run offense to the big men.
Yeah.
You think of any great Kansas team you can think of that's existed under Bill Self. They've had a pretty good big man.
Yeah. Azubuike comes to mind.
McCormick is not that guy.
No. Well, I mean, he's just not.
We wanted him to be.
He's not.
He's not that guy.
He's not Darrell Arthur.
No.
He's not Cole Alder. I mean, no, he's not that guy.
Thomas Robinson.
No, he's not that guy.
Morris twins. No.
But
he's not.
David's from Raleigh, North Carolina, and he was a 3-star kid. I think he bumped
up
to a 4-star.
Listen.
So like, I don't even think he was supposed to be that guy.
I don't want to pile on the kid and say like, that he's the reason, but like that is the missing ingredient when you're looking at a Kansas team. It's like when the Kansas teams you talk yourself into is David McCormick is actually Udoka Azubuike, and then you're like, oh, now I see it. Now I see. Now I get how this is going to work for Kansas moving forward. Jalen Wilson's another guy that like. Part of his his numbers are down, his production's down. Part of that is like bringing in a guy like Remy Martin who's taking more shots away, all that kind of. And Christian Brown, for what it's worth, has
taken
a huge step. So like they're kind of reshifting the roles and everything. But Jalen Wilson does it. He had a great game tonight. I'll give him credit to that. Jalen Wilson played well at Oklahoma, but
16-8.
He hasn't been popping all year to me either. And I like that. When I watch Kansas, I see Agbaji. I see Christian Brown, who had a huge shot, kind of basically won the game for Kansas today. I see Christian Brown like offering hustle plays and which isn't to diminish his role. He's awesome. He scores a ton of points, but like his impact is definitely like in transition, dunking on people, blocking shots, and hitting big threes. That's basically all I get excited about. Remy Martin's not doing it for me.
I was going to say,
I don't know.
I think that I get tripped up with this Kansas team because I did love that 2020 team so much. So like I see McCormick was on that team, Agbaji was on that team. You know what I mean? So I see the recipe, and then I see the Jalen Wilsons and the other pieces. So when I see it, I'm like, that team checks all the boxes of what you're looking for.
To that point, like I do think that the fact that there aren't any just amazingly great teams in college basketball this year, like
helps
if
Kansas.
we look up in April and Kansas is in the Final Four, I'm not going to be shocked. But that's the games I'm playing in my head right now. It's like trying to figure out like how good is Kansas?
Yeah.
Because they're definitely not good historically for Kansas, but they don't have to be. They have to be good compared to the teams that exist right now.
I agree.
And I think they are one of the best teams in the country, but like I don't get excited about them. Meanwhile, Baylor, I think they're just like they have a very obvious offensive limitation ceiling just with the raw talent of the roster they have, which again, like Baylor's definitely good enough to win the national championship, no question about it. They were deserving of their number 1 ranking. I think they should be the favorite to win the Big 12, despite dropping 2 in a row. I still believe in them, maybe a little more than Kansas to win the Big 12. Maybe not. I don't know. I guess fans being back in Allen Fieldhouse changes the calculus.
No, but you're right. Baylor's still the favorite on paper.
But yeah, they're like they're the emotions you felt certainly watching Baylor last year. It's sort of it's the same thing. You're talking yourself into it, which is hilarious because just last week when I was talking about Scott Drew, I was like, I have to talk myself out of Baylor now. But like,
yeah,
I think they don't have Sohan's been out for the last few games, which like isn't really that big of a deal. The freshman dude that's longer, but that to me like having I made this point before, like having those the wingspan and the length that they didn't have last year that they now have defensively. I think
Kind
their
of tricks
defense
they don't have the
could
guard
be
play that they had last
better,
year,
but
they have
yeah.
the length this year.
They don't have the guard play. They don't have the, and I think like ultimately that worries me. I don't know. I don't like Baylor is I'm getting like 90% as excited as I got last year. And again, it's just the mental gymnastics. So my fear is fast forward to the NCAA tournament. I'm not worried about Baylor and Kansas like losing in the first or second round. I don't think it's going to be a complete disaster like it was for the Big Ten last year. You know, I don't think we're going to get a Cameron Krutwig situation where he's just like on McCormick and like, you know, lighting up.
What even was that? I still can't believe that.
You know, like I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think a 15 seed is going to beat Baylor in the
Yeah.
first round, like happened to the Big Ten apparently, or so I've heard. I don't think it's going to be like that, but I'm worried about the idea of like the Big 12 is so much better than everybody else because night after night, any team can beat any team. We see Kansas State is not a very good basketball team. They just beat Texas Tech. They just beat Texas. Like it's a very competitive league, top to bottom, best league in the country. But it would not surprise me at all if they get like one team in the Elite Eight and none in the Final Four.
Yeah.
I guess that's where I'm at, and that's my take on the Big 12. So there you go. That's what I realized tonight watching these games.
No, I see that. I feel that. I mean, I think Baylor we had to give them their due respect, but they obviously have limitations to who they are. And the new world of college basketball, and I think why it kind of shades both those teams is that at the end of the day, you and I both know who Remy Martin is.
Yes.
You and I both know who James Akinjo is.
Yes.
And they might be in new settings, but they are still going to be the ones that have to lead these teams, these programs at the end of the day. And I'm still interested to see what that looks like.
And James Akinjo on the final possession against Texas Tech, I was like,
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And it does hit you a little bit. That's the new world that
you are not Davion Mitchell. You are not Jared Butler.
And we've seen, we know you. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's one of those things where people always talk about that with prospects. You know, it's like the longer you stay in college, the more we know all your weaknesses. You know, and that is unfortunately what has happened with Remy and Akinjo. So when you talk about those teams, you talk about guard play, kind of blinds you a little bit.
Shout out Texas Tech though. I feel like we're undervaluing Texas Tech. Darren Shannon was back tonight, by the way. They destroyed Iowa State at home. So Iowa State, I guess we haven't talked about Iowa State. Iowa State ranked 15th in the country. They had a great start to the season.
Yeah, Otzelberger.
I think Iowa State is. I think
I just don't think they were as ranked. I don't think they were as highly ranked as they should. I mean, they shot
were
themselves in the moon.
Very much overrated, but that doesn't but overrated doesn't mean undeserving. Tate.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They were deserving of all the praise they got. The turnaround has been exciting. It's a fun story. Iowa State basketball relevant again. All of that is true. If you have Iowa State going to the Final Four in your bracket, good luck to you.
Good luck.
That's all I'll say. Good luck to you.
Yeah,
you know something I don't. I'll put it that way.
I think in the Big 12, there's really the three teams that we're talking about as far as Final Four, potential national title aspirations. But it is a really deep league all around. Like there's no easy bucket, there's no easy games in the Big 12, as we've seen.
It's great.
Kansas
Yeah, it's
State,
deserving of the reputation. Again, just like the Big Ten was last year going to the NCAA tournament, like where you're talking yourself into 3 or 4 in the Elite Eight and like 2 or 3 in the Final Four, maybe. Is there a chance? Could it be all 4, Tate? In Indianapolis, 4 Big Ten teams in the Final Four?
I bought in.
I guess you're right. Like any of those 3 could make a Final Four, but I will not be surprised if the Big 12 does not win the national title this year.
Yeah. And it's okay.
Okay.
It is never 1-to-1. It's never like the best conference leads to the national title. I mean,
of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tate. So everyone that's like, why is the Big Ten not won since? Because it's not about national championships. You know what it's about?
Yeah.
The Big Ten is the only
propaganda, media manipulation
to win 6 bowl games, 4 women's golf teams.
Ooh.
Be in the top 19.
Nice.
And to have Neil Armstrong go to school there.
It's
one of the schools in the
find me another school that has that stat.
Speaking of, you're touching on King of the Mountain that we did last week. It's the new segment that we introduced last week.
Are we doing it?
We're doing it again this week.
Yes.
King of the Mountain presented by Coors Light. Coors Light is the one I choose when I need to unwind. It says it here on my screen. It's also true. I do drink Coors Light religiously. It is the only beer I really drink. Come over to my house.
Yeah.
I got the Blue Mountains for you. So when you want to hit reset, reach for the beer that's made to chill. Get Coors Light, the new look delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/TNT.
Drizzly.
That's an ampersand. Ampersand T.
Ampersand T.
Please celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. All right, King of the Mountain. Coors Light King of the Mountain, Tate. Who would you say is the king of the mountain in college basketball right now? What did you say last week, by the way?
Who did I say last week?
You said Baycott, right?
Yeah, I was like,
dude, that's a worse curse than Scott Drew.
Yeah, I think the king of the mountain could be cursed, so we're gonna see what happens. And I'm just gonna throw it out there because the king of the mountain to me in college basketball is your head coach for your Gonzaga Bulldogs, Mark Few. And we saw it this summer because, when the NIL legislation was passed, they had to bring in a coach to be the figurehead. They brought in Mark Few. And then this week, the AP poll, despite all signs pointing to Auburn has to be number one, there's no doubt about it. Auburn's the number one team in the country. Somehow, a 2-loss Gonzaga team goes back to number one. Very Duke, 1990s, or early 2000s, I should say. And I have said to you that the Zags are the new Duke.
Yep.
And here we are.
You've been on this. The Zags are the new Duke. This is,
and it comes down to who is the king of the mountain. It's Mark Few. And guess what? We always talked about why did Coach K become this, this past decade, this dominator in the recruiting, this guy who is, the one who leads all things college basketball. It was because of USA Basketball. And guess who just got hired to be an assistant coach for Steve Kerr as they plan for 2024? Team USA, Mark Few. Mark Few's the king of the mountain. Mark Few runs college basketball. And that's all I have to say. Number one team in the country.
That's a great call.
There you go.
Mark Few is
the king of the mountain.
That is. You are right. That is a Duke move for Gonzaga to get 11 fewer first place votes, but still end up number one.
Yeah, the math checks out somehow.
Because if it was Duke, if you were, like in like you said, what era did you say? Late 90s, early 2000s.
Early 2000s, yeah.
And this happened with Duke. No one would bat an eye.
Of course,
of course. It makes sense. It makes sense that
they got Elton Brand.
Like say the 02 season, Maryland is knocking at the door number one. Then you look up and Duke's number one, even though Maryland had 11 more first place votes.
And beat Duke head to head.
No one would question whatsoever how that happened.
They have the National Player of the Year. Yeah,
great call on that one. My pick, funny enough. So you went Mark Few. I went with the guy that got the most first place votes in the AP poll, Bruce Pearl.
Oh my God!
For the exact same reason, which is that. Bruce Pearl got the most number one votes, which means he's actually the number one. But I think Bruce Pearl has I said last week that Scott Drew has grabbed college basketball by the balls, which is more of like a broad, like overarching. He's the defending national champion. He's still number one. Scott Drew has like completely flipped narratives about him on his head. I think Bruce Pearl has this season by the balls. We'll put it that way. Like this season, this moment in time of college basketball, it's Auburn's time. Is Auburn the best team? I don't know. Maybe we could flesh this out. We could talk a little bit more about it. I don't know. Auburn is very, very good. If Auburn was in fact the number one team in the country, you would not find me arguing that the wrong team is at the top. It makes the most sense. And what I want to talk about is flipping the narrative with Scott Drew. Like I said, Scott Drew went from like this. Like, frankly, when I would watch him coach some games, I'm like, is this guy a buffoon? Does he know what he's doing? Like, what is going on out there?
Yeah.
I don't like if Baylor's up 4 with 5 minutes left.
I mean, people joke that Scott Drew used to just roll the balls out.
Yes.
I mean, that was the.
If Baylor was up 4 with 5 minutes left, I would be laughing to myself. I wonder how they're going to blow this. And now, you threw out the idea that maybe Baylor's getting boring because like it's just inevitable and they just like grind people down and pull out one. Okay, so as it pertains to Bruce Pearl, the way that Bruce Pearl has just like. He hasn't tweeted through it. Rick Pitino is the one coach that has ever tweeted through controversy and come out the other side looking good. Bruce Pearl is like just taking his shirt off at football games, painted his chest, and gone on ESPN during draft night. He's done all of that through it. You know what I mean? Like, and what is it? It is controversy. Controversy has followed this man every step of every place he's ever been. This is why I am very open and honest and upfront about how I do not like Bruce Pearl. I do not cheer for Bruce Pearl to have success. I think Bruce Pearl is a hypocrite. I think Bruce Pearl, on down the line, Deion Thomas, UW Milwaukee, Tennessee, like everywhere he goes, there's problems. What I will not deny, Tate, is that Bruce Pearl is an awesome basketball coach, and Bruce Pearl is undeniably charismatic. And I think we have now reached a point in 2022 where Bruce Pearl has won. He's won. He's powered through it all. The FBI gets involved in Auburn, and at the time, if you remember, it feels like forever ago, but in 2017, when all that went down, everyone was like, Bruce Pearl's going to lose it. Like, he's got to get fired.
Yeah,
he's got to get fired. How is he still the coach?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
No, there were people that were like, how did this guy get hired at Auburn?
Yeah, how did he get hired in the first place? Now he's definitely gone. Now, like, what ended up happening, Chuck Person, like, Auburn fans will tell you Bruce Pearl didn't have anything to do with that, whatever. That's not the point. The point is that was the moment we were living in. Bruce Pearl put his head down, said character counts, painted his chest, went to football games. He's come out the other side now. And now we're at a point where, like, you're almost like you look back on all the stuff he did.
You're like, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
And now, like, as more time progresses.
No, you're right.
It's like
he endured.
He endured.
Yeah. Like
he wins.
During the last, like, not the last decade, but the decade prior, the 2000s, the aughts, he was a pariah. He was everything that was wrong with college basketball. Yes. And now he is the progressive, cool coach that is everything that is right with college basketball.
Right.
Which is insane.
And he hasn't changed.
And he hasn't
changed at all. It's the same guy. It's been the same guy the whole time. It's been the same guy.
And it is funny how that works. And it's like, we can't forget that Auburn last year voluntarily missed the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
They took a punishment.
Yeah.
They imposed a ban on themselves. And not one person.
Cooper. They had an exciting team.
Who came later. And But the fact that they did that, like, they self-imposed the ban, and then it's like it's all done. You know what I mean? Like, everything that would be a problem or be problematic for Bruce Pearl is water under the bridge now, as what we're saying, which is wild because there were so many times where you're like, this guy should be done.
Yes.
There's no way he comes back.
Yes. Starting in 1989 with the Deion Thomas situation.
No, exactly. That's what I mean.
That should have been done.
We're 40 years into. There's no way this guy gets another opportunity, and he keeps, like, I don't know. It's like a cockroach.
Yes,
you know what I mean. He never goes away.
We look up in mid-January. Bruce Pearl's team has the best resume in college basketball.
Yeah,
they are the number 2 team, but as I said, 11 more first-place votes than Gonzaga. Auburn's never been number 1, Tate. Never in the history of the program. So I understand why, like, Auburn.
They've been number 2.
This matters greatly to Auburn fans for the same reason it mattered to Purdue fans when Purdue got to be number 1 for the first time this year and then promptly lost it on a Euro step from half court. So I understand why Auburn fans want it so badly, but does it matter that much? I don't know. I guess. And in that regard, it does, because I think that marks the moment that Bruce Pearl definitively wins. When we look up next week, Auburn is at home, I think, against Kentucky. They got Kentucky this week. I think it's at Auburn. They beat Kentucky. They're number 1. Yeah. And I think when that happens, I think you hang the banner. And I think Bruce Pearl should hang a banner in Auburn's arena that says "I won." Just says Bruce Pearl : I won.
In the way that I saw Bruce Pearl's quotes, I looked him up to see what he was saying about this, and he already won this whole situation because he said, this is how he phrased it. He said, by the resume, we are the number 1 team in the country. Now, do I think we're the best team in the country? No.
No, yeah.
Which is like, this man, it's honestly like they should do a masterclass how to be a college basketball coach, like how to, like, play the game. And it's like Bruce Pearl telling you how to play the game because he's done it perfectly. And they have 2 lottery bigs.
I know. That's the other. He's about to have the number 1 pick in the draft. As they're raising the I won, he's raising the banner. I'm at the game, and I'm the woman at Trump's inauguration.
No,
oh, that's me.
That's Jim's favorite video.
No. So what do you make quickly of the AP poll? What do you like? What are your thoughts on this? Is it a big deal? Does it not matter? In some ways it doesn't matter, but it does matter. But also,
it's like the old guard. You know what I mean? Like the AP is.
But the AP voted, like, that's what we don't understand is the AP voters voted for Auburn to be number 1.
But it's a rigged game. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
the algorithm.
No, the media always is going to, like, especially with, like, polls and things, you know, like Gonzaga is supposed to be number 1. Yeah. Auburn's not supposed to be number 1.
That's true.
Know? So takes, when you're not supposed, like Baylor was not supposed to, Purdue's not supposed to be, like, when you're that kind of team, you have to almost kick in the door a little bit, you know? That's like true. Auburn's not going to just get the number 1 spot. You
don't like back your way into it, which like Auburn has won a ton of games in a row and all that, but you haven't had. I know Alabama was a fun experience that you won at Alabama.
No, you're right.
LSU at home,
Kentucky, but you kicked in the door.
Auburn hasn't had the moment where they kicked in the door. Yeah. It's more of a cumulative thing, which is like when you're making the case for Auburn, you're saying their resume and their quad 1 wins versus their strength, and you're doing all that. Whereas you beat Kentucky, it's like, here's our resume. Watch this.
Graham Couch and the AP voters are Hodor, and they're just trying to hold. They're trying to hold back.
I think it was Jesse Newell is the guy this time.
Yeah,
that's the guy that's like. I think that's the guy's name. Not to people out by name, but I think No, I just see I see all the Auburn fans are going after Jesse Newell. It's like the guy that I think he ranked Auburn 9th or something. I don't know.
That's I will say, like, that is the funniest. Like, fans are always funny, you know, they always do funny stuff. But the funniest thing is like when they find the name of the AP voter
Yes.
or they find the name of the official. Like,
As long as you don't do it, as long as
no
you're not,
harm,
no
no
harm,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
harm.
But like,
Yeah.
just like trying to
As long as we're having fun. We're all having fun, right? Like this.
don't
is
go
fun.
Harvey Updike. Like
Yes.
that's too far. But
No,
like, you
or
know.
who was the dude that Kentucky fan that had the roofing business? That
Oh
Kentucky
yeah,
fan,
yeah. I can't remember, but
was it Higgins?
maybe.
I don't remember. Who cares? I had a couple thoughts on the AP poll situation. Number one, why is Arizona not being mentioned as a candidate?
That's a good question. How do they get no votes?
That baffles me. I'm not making the case that Arizona is better than Auburn or deserves it more than Auburn or Gonzaga or whatever. But like Arizona, when I look at Arizona and Auburn, and you're making the case for Auburn's resume, Arizona's best win, which was at Illinois, a true road game at Illinois, is better than Auburn's best win, which is LSU at home. And then their worst loss was their only loss. They both only lost one game. Arizona loses at Tennessee in a game where the refs dicked them over, which like whatever, we can leave that part out. But a true road game at Tennessee, and Auburn loses in double overtime at against UConn in a freaking ballroom. So like, I think Tennessee's better than UConn. Whatever, they're very similar. I guess like ultimately, I don't understand why there's that much of a gap to where like the idea of like throwing Arizona in the mix and at least. Why are we not discussing which of the three? Why is it only which of the two? I don't know. Smarter people are going to have to explain that to me. The other thing I was going to say, Tate, is a lot of this AP poll discussion is, I guess, Jesse Newell, the dude that voted Auburn number 9, he said that his rationale was like Auburn isn't good with all the metrics, like all the Ken Palms and what have yous of the world don't have Auburn super high, and they do love Gonzaga. And so he's like, I put Auburn in 9 because of this or that and the other. And then at the same time, you have like people arguing for Auburn because their resume is awesome. I guess I'm an old school guy and I want the AP poll to be your thoughts, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess like that's my PSA to all the AP voters is like, we don't want you to regurgitate the algorithms and the resumes and the quad 1 wins.
You got to vote for a reason.
I want it all to be eye test. I want the entire AP poll to be eye test.
That's what it's always been.
All of it.
That's what it's always been.
Yeah.
Like, don't break.
That's what it was in 1958. Yeah.
These guys didn't have Ken Palm. Like, they were just making decisions based on like, is this team? Do you think this team could be the best?
I don't think that makes you cool or brave or anything else to look at Ken Palm and just write down the top 25 on Ken Palm and submit your ballot. And then if someone comes at you, you're like, well, I just followed the metrics and this and that. That doesn't make you cool.
Stand
That's not
by,
cool, man.
Stand by the numbers.
Yeah.
If you're gonna use them.
No, I don't even use them. Get the numbers out of here.
Don't use them.
The numbers are over here. The numbers exist in this world. The AP poll should just be a bunch of old dudes that just like are incredibly biased, hate certain teams. It doesn't matter, Tate. That's why, like, you know how hard it was to get unanimous number 1, like in 1961. I bet
Impossible.
it was probably impossible because there's so many haters out there, and no one. But now, you know what? That's it. That's my rant.
All you need to know is
I want the AP poll to be your thoughts. That's where we're coming to you. We want your thoughts. We don't want Ken Pomeroy's thoughts. If we wanted Ken Pomeroy's thoughts, we go to Ken Pom. If we wanted the resume thoughts,
but that's why we loved Graham Couch so much, because if Graham Couch came on the show and we asked him why is Auburn number 1, you know what he'd say? 5-0 on the road against quad 1 and quad 2 teams, and we'd say, "Great point, Graham. That's why Auburn."
That's his algorithm.
That's your algorithm.
He's created his own algorithm.
Exactly.
Create your own algorithm. Create your own algorithm. What else is there before we get shoutouts, closeouts? Oh, Purdue, Illinois. Let's talk about Purdue, Illinois quickly.
Yeah. MLK Day.
MLK Day. Purdue wins in double overtime.
It was a must-win for Purdue.
Must
win.
Is this a game that you walk away from, because you have to pick one or the other, no middle ground? Do you walk away thinking, "Wow, Purdue is back," or are you like, "Oh my God, Illinois is a disaster. Illinois is broken"?
I walk away.
Which one is?
I walk away from that game thinking to myself, Illinois did not even play that well, and it's a double overtime.
Oh, this is a
game.
win for Illinois because they're
already 6-0 in conference. You know what I mean? Like they were already in control of the Big Ten. And if Purdue doesn't win that game, like, we're in panic. Like, we're worried about this Purdue season getting off the rails. So Purdue had to win that game.
That was a nice pun there at the train.
Yeah, they're getting off the rails. Everyone's getting off the rail. The whole season is off the rails. Purdue, though, I mean, they had to win that game, so I kind of gave Illinois a bit of a break, and I think I didn't leave that game feeling inspired by Purdue. I didn't think that things have drastically changed for Purdue. I think it is kind of what it is.
I think the one thing I did like out of Purdue is defensive intensity. Talking about earlier about North Carolina, and you can't teach effort or you can't coach effort. Excuse me.
No one can coach effort.
You can't coach effort, all that stuff.
Frank Vogel cannot coach effort. Everyone's like, what are the Lakers going to do? I'm like, he can't coach second and third efforts. He can't. No one can. He can't.
Can't coach effort. From my perspective, Purdue has 3 problems, we'll call it, or 3. They've had 3 issues all season. They 2 of their 3 best players cannot play together. Zach Edey and Travion Williams.
Exactly.
That's an issue.
Yes.
That's an issue like basically no other team has.
That's issue 1, 2, and 3 in my opinion. Yeah.
The other issue, they don't have a true point guard. So when they need like a point guard, when they need a calming influence to handle the ball, they turn to their most erratic player, who's also their best player, who's Jaden Ivey, who will like he's basically, I'm not saying he plays like Russell Westbrook.
No, I know.
For the one thing that he does that feels like Westbrook is like he puts his head down and you're like, he's either dunking on everybody or this is like, they're going to call
the ball's
4,
going to end up in the stands.
And they're going to call like 4 charges on him. They're going to be like, that was such a bad charge that we're calling 4 fouls on you.
He does. Being playing like Russell Westbrook is a compliment usually.
Ish.
Usually.
But that's the only part of his game that is Westbrook to me. Like I'm not trying to compare him to Westbrook, but that part of the it's that, and then the defensive intensity. Like you watch Purdue, we talked about it against Wisconsin. Where
too cool
like,
for
how are they so cool? Defensive intensity you can fix, and I think they kind of they did better against Illinois. The point
guard was a great game. I mean, it really was.
The point guard situation you can kind of work around, and like you're never really going to fix it. I mean, Isaiah Thompson is technically the point guard, but he's not like the guy. Like I said, when you need to play at the end of the game and it's a close game in overtime, you're not giving the ball to Isaiah Thompson and saying like, "All right,
go get yours."
Yeah, you're giving it to Jaden Ivey, which tells me that Jaden Ivey is your real point guard. So there's that. You can sort of fix that. I hopefully there's a world where Ivy turns it down a little bit and quits trying to like make home run plays all the time. There's no fixing the Edey Travion Williams situation. So I don't. That's where we landed with Purdue. You got one problem you can fix, one you can kind of work around, and one you're never going to fix, and it's going to be an issue. And I think it was cute and it was fun to discuss like who should be starting, who should be playing, all that sort of stuff. It's a genuine problem. It's a legitimate problem because Travion Williams emerged. He was definitely better than Zach Edey until the Illinois game when Zach Edey ate Kofi Coburn's lunch. And rest in peace, the Kofi Coburn National Player of the Year campaign. By the way, get that out of my face. I'm done with it. I know you're the Illinois guy. I'm done.
I love Redacted, but I do think they really hurt, and I think it was the first time. I think it may have. I think it may work. Well, I shouldn't say that because Krutwig already happened, but I think it may help Kofi in the end.
Dude, Koloko happened on Arizona when they played, and like I don't know if Kofi's not bad. He's just like
when he goes up against someone that's comparable size-wise, he gets smaller.
Is he the National Player of the Year or the National I'm bigger than everyone else of the year?
And I can dominate.
When he's bigger than everyone else, he's like, I'm going to dominate everybody.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah.
When you get someone who's his size, or you get a Krutwig who's just like playing like Jackie Moon out there.
We got to get Krutwig on the show. He should be our correspondent for the tournament.
Yeah. So they're both very similar teams. It was a fun game. It was a fun matchup. I mean, you got 2 giants down low and then a bunch of
literal
shooters
giants
around them and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, those are my thoughts. I think I think Purdue has a path to be to still win a national championship. I don't think we need to panic on them yet, but those are the issues as I see them. And the only hope you have is to turn up the defensive intensity. I don't care how good your offense is, and they have a great offense. Maybe the best offense in college basketball, but if they're not going to guard people,
Ivy and the point guard that is what's going to kill them in the tournament. And you and I both know that. And guess what? Purdue fans who are very smart basketball fans, they know it. I mean Ivy could figure it out. You know, where he contains himself a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He plays within the parameters of like, I know I could do this, but instead I'm going to decide to reserve and not make this play right now.
The other thing I'd say about Purdue and their point guard situation that works in their favor is they don't run a lot of ball screen stuff anyway. They don't. I mean, for God's sakes, Matt Painter's running the Bob Knight motion offense. That's the
Coach K motion offense.
That's what I mean. Purdue is the best team in the country at off ball stuff, screening away from the ball, cutting off the ball, all that sort of stuff. to where you that's why Isaiah Thompson's been he's been adequate in the role that they've had him play, because they don't really need him to make plays per se. They need to get everybody in the right spot, screen away for Stefanovic to curl off the screen and catch it and hit a three. That's kind of how they play. So in that regard, you're not looking at the Purdue point guard in the way you would look at, say, a North Carolina point guard or a Kansas point guard and say, we need you
to be that guy.
To be that guy.
Yeah.
So that's a positive. But at the end of the game,
it's all it's going to revert back.
You just need Ivy to take a deep breath, basically, is what they're
Take a chill pill.
Anyway. All right, is that it? Shoutouts, closeouts?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. That was a fun. This is going live for the first time.
It's fun,
I
dude.
feel like it flew by a little bit. Shoutouts.
We're how long have we been? We're on the air for 2.5 hours. Is that what you said?
Yeah, something like that.
Jim's flew by. Jim's passed out.
Yeah, Jim's asleep. Shout out to Gus Johnson. I wanted to. It was just we were talking about the MLK Day games.
It sucked he couldn't call it.
I know he did call in though. I mean, it was cool to have him do the interview. Last year we had Gus Johnson on the show. One of our favorite interviews. We loved having him on, talking about his experience, calling Howard, playing baseball at Howard, and then finding his calling as an announcer. So that was great. And then just the fact that Notre Dame and Howard played each other and they're talking about making it a series. I mean, I think that's great. And shout out to Fox.
That was
company
awesome.
men, you know what I mean? So I had a great day. Like MLK Day, as I was watching, I was thinking to myself, this might be a college basketball holiday.
That's a great call.
You know what I mean? Like
great call.
There's some holidays that kind of speak to the sport a little bit, like Thanksgiving, obviously football, Christmas Day basketball, MLK college basketball.
That's a great call.
Yeah. So
I love that. It was a good game. It ended up being a good game.
Both of those games were great.
Shout out to Kenneth Blakeney, by the way. He goes by Kenneth now, I guess.
Yeah, they
get that memo. He was Kenny to me forever.
Well, it sounded like you guys are boys. You're like, "What's up, Kenny?"
Yeah. I was Kenny on the interview the whole time.
My mom believed me, by the way, that I just skipped out on it because it was Kenneth Blakeney.
Oh,
I was very proud.
She believed that.
She was like, "Good job."
Who do I want to shout out? Oh, Kyle Guy, friend of the program. Kyle
Yeah.
Guy officially signed a two-way with Miami. What does that mean? Explain to the college basketball.
Every team has
two-way
two-way contracts, which means they can't play all the games up top. They have to play a certain amount of G League games. So he is on one of those contracts. He's basically a G League and NBA player.
I thought it meant he has to play defense now. That he was with the Heat and he was just playing offense, and now he signed a two-way. So they're like, now we expect you to actually guard people.
No, I mean, honestly,
I thought that's what
I think that's my favorite NBA, like Zach Lowe, of those people terms. Like when they talk about a player and they're like, he's a two-way player. It's like, I hope to God everybody on our team is a two-way player.
Yeah.
Like if they aren't, like, get off of my team. Yeah, man. But that's the NBA. That's what we live with.
I want to shout out Oregon Ducks, pulled off the LA sweep. Oregon is back. I knew this would happen. I didn't want it to happen, but Oregon's going to be on the bubble in March. Maybe they'll play their way onto the right side of the bubble, but Oregon, I thought they were dead. I thought the way the season started, it was an absolute disaster, getting smacked by BYU. And who else did they play? Houston? Did Houston smoke them? I think
it was Houston in the Maui Invitational.
Dude, they had some bad losses, and they looked lost and ugly and terrible. And it was like, I know that Dane Altman won't completely go away. So please, when he comes back,
let me know.
Don't let him come back. But he's back. You want to talk about kicking down the door?
Yeah.
Going to UCLA and USC and winning both games. That's kicking down the door, and Oregon is back in the picture. And
I think if you are a Duck or if you are the Ducks, you can't duck. You know what I mean? Like it's too on the nose.
Yeah.
So I think they knew that they couldn't duck out of the season, so they had to play, and now they're just making it happen.
Shout out to the Kentucky Wildcats, smacked Tennessee, won by 28 points. Kentucky's very much back.
Big O.
That's gonna be a great game, Kentucky-Auburn on Saturday.
You sent this to me, by the way. Oscar Tshiebwe was what he was known as when he was at West Virginia. And I've been calling him Sheboy, and a lot of people have been coming to my neck saying I pronounce his name wrong, but he has changed his pronunciation.
We have a Paolo Banchero situation with Oscar Sheboy, where I found definitive proof in print.
Yes.
When Oscar, at the time, Shubway committed to West Virginia, it was put in parentheses, pronounced Shubway.
Yes.
And then now he's at Kentucky, and you look up the pronunciation at Kentucky on their website, it says Shebway. So I don't know how this happens in college basketball, but it keeps happening.
And it also
Kenneth Blakeney.
It brings up a good point because a lot of people have said that Coach Calipari would never tamper to get Big O to come to Lexington, Kentucky, and now it makes more sense because they were calling him the wrong name at West Virginia, and he's like, these guys keep calling me the wrong name. I gotta go.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
What else? Shout out Ohio University. Jeff Bulls. They've won 9 straight.
Jeff Bulls
they're on fire.
Is going to get
They're on
Gotta
fire.
get some off.
And most of the 9, Tate, by the way, have been not close. They smacked Miami. Ohio today.
He's a good
they're rank Ohio. Or just give them votes. Give Ohio votes. Give OU votes.
What's one school that Jeff Boyles gets the call from, and he's like, I can't turn. Like, what's his?
Might be
Mick
North
Cronin-
Carolina at this point. It might be North Carolina.
I just I don't even know what to do.
What else? I had another one. Oh, Darius McGee of Liberty had 48 points at Florida Gulf Coast. He's now 4th in the country in scoring. He stands 5'9", Tate. So shout out to Darius McGee for continuing the 5'9" legacy of Marcus Keene and Chris Clemens and Kendrick Nunn and Isaiah Thomas and
it is the
Calvin Murphy. I think was the OG 5'9" guy at Niagara back in the day.
Yeah, every guy that's 5'9" though
Can ball out, dude.
but they're all 5'7", you know.
They're actually
Like 5'9"
Tom
what
Cruise.
you give them. Yeah, exactly.
Cruise.
5'9" like what you give them, and then they're all like, you don't even know.
Yeah.
Like Nate Robinson's like, he's 5'9". You're like, is he?
Nate
I
Robinson's another one. He's 5'9".
Yeah.
Kyler Murray.
Oh yeah, Kyle. I saw Kyler last night. He's 5'3", no doubt, no doubt.
Oh man, what else is there? Is that it? Oh, shout out John Rothstein got hacked again. It wasn't me this time. I promise. Last time John Rothstein got his Twitter hacked, it was my fault because Kyle Guy DM me. I got hacked, then my account hacked Rothstein's account. This time it was not me. Rothstein got. And by the way, when I got hacked, I made sure it won't happen again. I did the two-factor.
Get your two-factor together.
You got to get
John.
your two-factor. John does not have the two-factor. John's got one factor. John is not a two-way player.
Well,
He's a one.
You know what's even more upsetting to me? John Rothstein this morning before he was hacked, or maybe this was when he was hacked. We don't know. He tweeted Armando Bacot, double machine. You got to watch this guy play. I promise you this. He tweeted this morning that you have to go watch Armando Bacot. He's playing Miami tonight. Twitter gets hacked. Guys like shilling PS5s off Rothstein's account. And he gets the account back. He's like, sorry, I got hacked. And then I go back through his timeline. Either the hacker deleted the Armando Bacot tweet or John Rothstein is trying to blame the hacker for tweeting that. But, John, I know you tweeted it, and I know you cursed Armando Bacot, and we'll never live this down. John did this. He's trying to blame the hacker. He's like, I can't believe this hacker is tweeting about Armando Bacot. It was you, John.
John said, I apologize about my regretful tweets, such as the Armando Bacot parade.
It's must-see TV.
Do you think his password is just end here, period, we, period, go?
Yeah.
For sure. But
That's
capitals,
why he keeps getting hacked. It's like
capitals
everybody
of
knows that's
all
his
of
password.
those.
We should do, you know what we should do? We should go live. We should do this as a live stream sometime, where we all just get on our computers and just take turns guessing John Rothstein.
Just
We
hacking.
try to break into
We
it.
just see who gets it right.
I like that. Mr.
That's
Robot.
hilarious.
We do a Mr.
Just
Robot theme.
Everybody take turns. Is there anything else? You have any other shout outs?
I have no shot.
Shout out, Jim.
I got one solemn one.
Oh,
Kind of sad. We've lost a lot of people in January so
I know,
far
so many.
already. America's grandma, Betty White. America's
R.I.P.
dad, Bob Durst. And now Marty from Marty and Elaine, local legend here in LA. And also, if you've
yeah.
seen Swingers,
And Swingers.
they go there. It's the old couple that would play at the Dresden.
They play Staying Alive, right?
we've all
Yes.
been
Yeah,
to the
Swingers would do
Dresden
that.
together.
Yeah,
I've
the
seen
best.
Marty and Elaine at the Dresden.
that was my
Wow.
go-to
Yeah.
spot for Tinder dates.
Man.
I'm just kidding. We didn't go out, but regular dates, yes,
How does this change the dynamic now? If
kind of.
you're not
That
going
was my
to-
go-to. Yeah. So we'll see.
Shout out to the
Yeah, Marty
Dresden.
died.
I mean, so many legends. You know what I mean? It just sucks that like these are the times we talk about people. You know, it just
Yeah.
feels like there needs to be a slideshow that just
This
runs.
is Andy
through with
Bernard. I
people.
wish you knew you're in the good old
Yeah,
days.
I know,
before the old
exactly.
days were over.
Exactly. No, 100%. I mean, that's what I was saying to myself as I watched the Miami game tonight. I was like, if only I could go back to 2017.
If I could turn.
Yeah. Give me 2019.
Oh man. All right. Is that it? Is that the show?
That's all I got.
All right.
I
Thank
think
you
so.
to everyone who was watching along on YouTube. Those of you listening again, you can go check us out. YouTube.com/Titus and Tate. We'll be doing the live streams.
Every Tuesday.
See you guys.